You're listening to JTE Movie Thinks. Is that the title? Is that correct grammar? All right, we'll go with it. It's a show about movies and thinking. And now, here's your host, every man's hero, JTE.
What's up, guys? Welcome to a whole new episode of JTE Movie Thinks. This is not your usual episode for two reasons. Number one, we're doing top 5 films this summer. Number two, it is the return of Red Fairy herself, the one, the only, my number one homie, Alicia Malone.
Not your usual girl. I don't know. I was just trying to fit in with your theme. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you. I mean, you're I love this show because I never know what movie's going to come up. And with you, with certain people, especially from the Schmoes crew, I'm like, okay, it might be a classic with Alicia. And I have cops around, it might be a horror film. So your episode, though, fair to remember, it was by far the oldest film that we've mentioned so far. This is why I love bringing on guests that bring different spices. Mm-hmm. And you would bring that spice. But today, it's not your traditional episode.
No.
The summer's over. Mm-hmm. I think it was a decent summer.
I was trying to think of my favorite movies, and I was thinking, there hasn't been that many this summer until I sat down and tried to write my list. Then I realized there have been some good movies.
Yeah, there have been some good ones. So we're doing a top 5 summer of 2015. Real quick off the top, because usually I do ask you what's the last movie you watched, just to get out of the way, because I want people to have that aspect. What's the last movie you watched that wasn't part of a job, part of a screening? Something maybe you watched on a plane, at home? What was it?
Well, the other day I was supposed to go to 2 movie screenings. The second one was cancelled, so I thought, what am I going to do with the next 2 hours? I'll go see a movie, see what's playing close by and go and see it. Yeah. So I went and saw, again, for the second time, Straight Outta Compton.
Nice.
And that was just for fun.
So you liked it enough to go revisit it?
Yeah, it's interesting because the first time I saw it, afterwards I thought, it's fun, but I don't really think it's that great. Then I couldn't stop thinking about it. Okay. Then I delved into the whole history of NWA. Okay. Because I never knew anything about them.
I was about to say, what was your history with them? Were you
Nothing. Oh, okay. I mean, I'd obviously heard bits and pieces of F the Police, and I don't know if you can swear here.
Yeah, no, of course.
Straight Outta Compton. Fuck the Police. And I knew Ice Cube from all the movies, and Dr. Dre from Eminem, but I actually didn't know much at all about NWA, so it got me really interested in it. And I've been listening to the music non-stop in my car. Yeah.
Nice.
So now I know, word for word,
no way,
Ice Cube's verse of Straight Outta Compton, and one day I really want to do it at karaoke.
Oh, that is a karaoke, that's awesome.
Because you wouldn't expect it from me.
Yeah, I would not expect that. I kind of had the opposite reaction of you. I grew up with NWA. I grew up listening to that music. I loved gangster rap as a kid. So seeing the movie, nostalgia was such a big part of it. Mm-hmm. I saw it a second time because I was like, was it just nostalgia? I kind of had the same reaction to a movie we might talk about later, Jurassic World, where a lot of the nostalgia kind of added to my enjoyment of the film. Then when I saw it the second time, I was like, it's good, but I think my nostalgia covered me a little bit.
I think I liked it better the second time.
What?
Now
Jurassic
that
World?
No.
Oh, okay.
Straight Outta Compton. Now that I know more about the real story and I know the music, this time I knew the lyrics to all the songs, like the people did in the first screening I saw. So I thought it's really fun. It's not a biopic that's going to stand the test of time, I think, but I think it's a great popcorn movie, and I can't wait for the sequel they're talking about.
Yeah, which is really
Snoop
weird.
Dogg and Death Row Records, Tupac. I mean, I know a tiny bit about that, but again, really don't know much about that East Coast, West Coast rap. I know it's surprising because you look at me and you think gangster rap.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind. But again, when I revisited it a second time, I still enjoyed it just as much as the first time. So I was like, I think it's a very good movie. I don't think it's just nostalgia. I think it's a really well told movie. I agree the ending is a little bit behind the music, as Mark Ellis said. But if you're interested in the material, then why not? Who cares?
And the pace is really great. F. Gary Gray comes from that thriller background as well. He's worked with Ice Cube before.
Friday. He did A Negotiator.
Yeah, and The Negotiator.
Kevin Spacey and Samuel L. Jackson's a
really
good
thriller. Which I rewatched recently for our Samuel L. Jackson profiles, and I really love that movie.
It's good.
It holds up. It's still fun. So I think he brought that same level of pace to Straight Outta Compton, and that's what makes it so much fun to watch and so engaging, I guess.
Yeah, and I think you could tell when a director is really in love with what he's doing as far as the subject matter.
I mean, I know that they glossed over a couple of things, and it maybe made some people look better They were.
Well, Dre and Cube are producing the movie.
So they kind of come out of it well, but as a movie, it was really entertaining.
It's like if I was a 50-year-old director working in Hollywood, and I'm like in my office smoking a cigar, and some guy comes in and he goes, I want you to make a movie about the making of Rocky and Stallone's career. I would be like, I could do it.
Yeah,
I'd leave out all the bad stuff, and I would make it amazing. That's probably what happened here.
I know. It's amazing that Straight Outta Compton did so well. I don't think anyone saw that coming. I feel bad for Michael B. Jordan because he was originally going to play Dr. Dre.
Oh, that's
and
right.
he turned it down to be in Fantastic Four, which didn't work out very well. But he's going to be okay because Creed's coming, so
he's got
he'll
Creed.
be fine.
But imagine if he did. Imagine he was in Straight Outta Compton, and then he had Creed follow up.
Kill a year.
Oh, poor Jordan. I feel bad. All right, so let's get to it. Let's get to our top 5 films of the summer 2015. I'll just some honorable mentions. I think we'll do that at the end because I don't want to give away what's on our list.
Yeah.
But listen, you're the guest. I'm going to let you go first. What is your number 5? What's your number 5?
My number 5 summer movie, Cop Car.
Oh,
now,
Cop
I know
Car.
you know when you get me on the show that you're going to have a lot of summer indie movies as well, not just the blockbusters.
I was banking on it, trust me.
So I really enjoyed Cop Car. It was a small film. I saw it at Sundance, so I kind of had to put it in my mind as no, it's a summer movie because it came out during summer. But John Watts, he's obviously going to be doing Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, yeah.
But I liked what he did with this story. It kind of felt a little bit Coen Brothers-esque in terms of the tone, a very dark comedy. Kevin Bacon was great. And the 2 kids who steal the cop car and then drive it around, not to give anything away, but there's so many times in the movie that you think they're going to kill themselves. And you're just on... You haven't seen it?
I've not seen it yet. It's one of those movies... Here's the thing.
It's so tense.
When it comes to these indie films, I prefer to watch them in the theater. Right. And sometimes it's hard to find them. Like, I don't think I've seen a theater around here playing it yet. I don't know if it's available anywhere right now.
It has... I think it might have been in Gone.
It might have been in Gone,
Car, but it is on iTunes if you decide to watch it at home.
Or video on demand.
Yeah.
And I'll probably end up waiting until it either hits Netflix or something like that. But
it's worth it.
Is it worth it? Yeah. I wish I could just find it in the theater. I hate when I miss that little window. Like the movie The Guest last year.
Yeah.
Literally played ArcLight for like a week and a half.
And it was brilliant and it should have played
I saw it in theaters.
Good.
And when I saw it, I was like, holy crap, what if I didn't go that 1 week?
Yeah.
I would have just never saw theaters and had that amazing experience. Unfortunately, it sounds like I missed that with Cop Car.
I know, because I did get to see it at Sundance. I rewatched it again not too long ago on iTunes, so I still really enjoyed it, even on a small screen.
Yeah.
It does have that tension. And yeah, it's one of those movies you don't want to give anything away, but it's simple, tells a good story, not too much exposition.
And Kevin Bacon's probably amazing.
Oh, amazing.
Kevin Bacon's so good.
And it doesn't go where you think it will go. It's not predictable.
And he plays a bad guy. He's the villain, right? Is that giving away anything?
I mean, you're unsure about him.
Okay. Because last time
pretty much the whole time. You don't know. Okay. You kind of go, is he a villain? And then he does something nice. You're like, oh no, maybe he's a good guy. And then he does something bad. You're like, no, he's a villain. It's not clear cut.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting.
The trailers made it look like he was just a straight up villain.
Yeah, the trailer's misleading, but that's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
Because you don't know what you're going to get.
I was going to say, the last time he played a villain was The River Wild with Meryl Streep.
That's
right. I loved that movie growing up.
I also have a kind of love for Wild Things, which is a movie they should do in Guilty
Yes, with
Nev
Campbell
and Denise.
What's the other guy?
Denise
Matt
Rhodes?
Dillon.
Matt Dillon,
That's
yeah.
right, Matt Dillon, yeah, and Bill Murray.
Yeah,
Bill Murray is a lawyer. Love that movie. That's a good choice. That's one I really need to check out. Copster also told me it was really good.
Cop Car, yeah. So what's your number 5?
My number 5 is going to be a Marvel film, but the better of the 2 Marvel films. Ant-Man. I gotta agree. Like, I love the premise of this movie because it's so different from all the other Marvel films. And if you would have told me at the beginning of summer, and this is a spoiler, Avengers is not making my list. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, mine neither. But that's not a spoiler.
That's not a spoiler. If you would have told me at the beginning of summer you would like Ant-Man more than Avengers Age of Ultron, I would have said you were insane.
Me too.
But I think that says more about how disappointed I was with Age of Ultron and just how funny Ant-Man was. And not the fact, and I said this a lot when it first came out, when was the last time we saw a movie tackle shrinking people?
Yeah.
Was it Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
I think it was.
That's what I'm saying. So we've had that big of a gap of seeing like that technology, especially with technology we have today, which is so much more advanced. When he shrunk small, it looked so real.
Yeah, and plus it sounds like a stupid premise. That's why I was umming and ahhing about whether I would think Ant-Man could be good, plus the change of director. It just sounds like not a very cool superpower to shrink down, but they made it so interesting, and the things that he could do, and the humor was fantastic, plus what I really liked, and I know people are always like, oh, you just hate on comic book films, but I get sick of the whole world's at stake.
Yeah.
You know, Avengers, Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron, yeah.
The world's at stake. You know they're going to save the world. To me, it's not exciting. But Ant-Man, simple premise, simple end fight with just a guy trying to save his daughter. And that, to me, I think made it more universal. I
agree. And for me, it's like, the problem is, like, people kept saying it's a smaller scale movie.
Yeah.
But when you shrink your hero to the size of an ant, it makes the small scenario a huge scenario.
Exactly. And I think it was Stalin who said, like, 1 million people is a statistic, and one person is a tragedy.
Yes.
It's that kind of thing.
Yep. I mean, it's the way they were inventive. Like, there's a great scene, and this is one of my favorite scenes, not really spoiling anything, where Ant-Man is fighting the Yellow Jacket in a briefcase.
Yeah.
And one of them, he knocks him into an iPhone, which turns on Genesis. And it's literally, the soundtrack to the movie is the iPhone as they're falling and fighting inside this briefcase.
Clever.
And I was like, God, that's so smart. Like, I wish I would have thought of something like that. So I just had a blast with the movie. I think it's a great popcorn film. It's not very deep, but overall it has great performances by Rudd and Michael Douglas. And the girl from Lost, I'm blanking on her
Evangeline
name.
Lilly.
Evangeline Lilly, yeah. Like, I thought she was okay in the Hobbit films, but I thought she was great in this.
She was great, and I agree. I had so much fun watching Ant-Man. It was it's a good experience.
Yeah, so my favorite Marvel film by far this year is Ant-Man. I can't believe I'm saying that again. But Age of Ultron, I'm sorry, disappointed. But let's hear your number 4. I'm really excited to hear what it might be.
My number 4 is another indie, The End of the Tour. You haven't seen it?
I went to go see it 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the theater was only playing at 1 o'clock.
Right.
In the afternoons. And I literally checked my phone. I literally woke up with plans to go see it that day. I was like, I'm seeing End of the Tour today. Checked my phone, said it was like 1 o'clock when I checked my phone. It's like, maybe I'll catch like a 4 o'clock showing. And it said right there, like, last showing was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was like, what? And this was Wednesday, and I work all day Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it's still playing around here somewhere, because if it is, I will try to go see it this weekend for sure.
Again, another film I saw at Sundance.
Sundance, yeah.
But I really loved it. It's directed by James Ponsoldt, who did Spectacular Now.
One of my favorite movies of, 2 years ago?
Great, yeah, with Miles Teller.
Yes, loved that movie.
And Shailene Woodley. This feels like a very different film. This feels almost like a Linklater movie because it's got long scenes with a lot of dialogue. Okay. So Jason Segel plays David Foster Wallace, really interesting author who unfortunately committed suicide. It's all about when he wrote The Infinite Jest.
Yes.
Have you ever tried to read that book?
No, but one of my friends who I grew up with, I was talking to him on the phone just a week ago, and he told me how much he loved that book. And like, hey, he was dying to see the movie, and this is one of the reasons why I was hoping I'd see it this week, because I heard from you and other people it's so great. But I heard that book's amazing. But why, is it a difficult read?
It's really hard read, and it is so thick. It's hard to get into. It's all these different stories, which all I think come together in the end. I've tried multiple times to read it, and I just can't get into it. But I do hear from people who have read all the way through, smarter people than me, that it changes their lives.
Yes,
and that he's just a brilliant author, but fascinating guy. Suffered with a lot of depression, had issues with drugs. So this movie is based on a true story, and Jesse Eisenberg plays a reporter who gets to spend a whole time with David Foster Wallace as he goes on a book tour to promote The Infinite Jest. And there's just a lot of dialogue-heavy scenes. Jesse Eisenberg does play the same kind of character that he plays a lot of times.
Gotcha.
The slightly annoying, fast-talking guy. But it works for this character, and it works in relation to Jason Segel's character. Jason Segel is incredible.
That's what I keep hearing. And I like Jason Segel. I've liked him when he's in a supporting role, like Knocked Up. I really liked him for Getting Sarah Marshall. But like, this looks like something that actually has weight to it. Yeah. And like, the trailers look convincing to me. So you're saying he does it. He knocks it out of the park.
You forget it's Jason Segel.
Really?
Yeah,
that's
pretty
crazy
quickly. I know. I wouldn't have believed it unless I saw it. And afterwards, I was singing his praises. So
really?
The End of the Tour, check it out.
Nomination?
If you can.
Nomination?
I think it could. I mean,
Jason Segel.
It kind of feels like... Yeah, I would say Jason Segel definitely. He should. But the question is the campaign.
Will they forget about it?
Yeah, it's come out already. Mm-hmm. It's also not a very flashy movie, so it would require a lot of campaigning. I feel like there wasn't much buzz about it either, maybe within our circles, but not a wider audience.
I agree with that, yeah.
So there's some bigger indie films coming out later this year. They'll probably steal the thunder, but he should be.
That's interesting, because like the theater I want to see that, it's a Lamley, which is like one of those art house theaters. Usually they have a movie for a couple weeks. I feel like they had this for a week, and it was.
I feel like it came and went. No one was talking about
it. It's already down to one showing. That's why I was shocked when I went to go watch it Wednesday. I was like, "It's down to one showing already."
Yeah.
And I know it's not playing there now, but I'm sure I gotta find it.
I
can't believe I have not seen 2 of your top 5 so far.
Come on.
I'm slacking, people.
What's your
Ant-Man.
number 4?
My number 4 is a film we already talked about top of the show. I got to give it Straight Outta Compton.
Yep.
Listen, it had so much energy, and I don't want to get too much because we talked a lot about it before, but I just loved revisiting that part of my life, even though I was farthest thing from a kid living in Compton in the early 90s.
That's the interesting thing, right? How the story relates to people and how the music people loved, even if like I'm rapping straight out of Compton and I'm straight out of Canberra, and it's very different. Thankfully, like I'm very privileged to grow up in neighborhoods nothing like what they had to deal with in Compton.
I'm from a city called Bristol. Yeah. So I used to be like, straight out of Bristol, holding my pistol. And I was just like, I would make up like raps, because everyone did that, I think, when Straight Outta Compton came out. But yeah, the whole East Coast, West Coast, sorry guys, that was my phone. The whole East Coast, West Coast thing was fascinating to me growing up. And to see like a little bit behind the curtain from Dr. Dre's point of view, because I mean, Suge Knight is such a despicable human being.
Oh, yeah.
And you hear all these stories, like there's legends of him.
And even recently, right?
Yeah, he ran over a guy.
Ran over people.
And to see Dr. Dre kind of give you a look back, like what was going on, like there's a scene in that movie where Death Row looks like, I mean, I don't even know what that was.
I don't know, and I think it was probably even done nicer for the movie than it actually was.
Exactly.
Plus, the times when you do see like Tupac in the booth, I'm like, oh my gosh, so they're all connected. Yeah. Again, me not knowing anything about all the rap and West Coast, East Coast, and you could do a whole movie on West Coast. I think the possibilities are endless.
And it's great, and I said it's kind of like when you watch
East Coast, sorry. East Coast. That was West.
When you watch a Marvel film and like somebody you know pops up, like Captain America appears in Thor 2, you're like, oh, there's Captain America. When Snoop Dogg made a cameo, I was like, oh, it's like Snoop Dogg. And then they're like, because Eazy produced Bone Thugs and Harmony before they became big. That's right. And there's one scene where he goes, hey, here's that mixtape of Bone Thug. I think it's going to be a good album. And you know, he's talking about Crossroads and all these albums. East Eternal 1999.
And see, I feel the same as I do in a Marvel movie where I'm like, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. See, for me, it was just like, oh, my childhood. Like all the things I used to love. I just think I got to give credit to the director. I think this is probably my favorite film he's done.
Yeah.
I think he did.
I think it's like the culmination of all his talents coming together.
Good point. And the scenes, like I felt like I was in a concert. Like when you watch a musical biopic and you actually feel like biopic.
Yeah,
biopic.
Biopic.
I do it all the time.
Bionic.
Bionic. You feel like you're at one of those shows several times in the movie.
Especially with an American audience, because Australian audiences, I've probably mentioned this before, are very quiet, very polite, probably similar to English audiences. American audiences yell things out, they talk to the screen, and they also like clap at the end of the movie, which I always think is weird, because it's like, who are you clapping to? The projectionist? That's kind of nice. But Straight Outta Compton, the first time I saw it, packed theatre, not just with press, but with fans as well. They all knew all the words, and it made it like a concert.
Yeah, they clapped when it cut to black, and then there's like they show some like old school scenes again of like
the cast
Ice Cube.
Good too.
Yeah, my audience clapped twice. And at one point, like I remember I was towards the back, and everyone's head's bobbing. Yeah. You know, like when you're feeling the beat. Like at one point I looked down.
It's such great music, doesn't it?
Everyone's just like, everyone's just feeling it. And I think we live in LA, so I wonder if that adds a little more to our audience and some people out there.
True, it's cool to see the LA like downtown skyline. You're like, wow.
You're like, what up?
You're like, I've never been to Compton, but I know it's in LA.
So number 4 for me is Straight Outta Compton. I just had so much fun to watch that movie. If I see a movie twice within like a week, that's when I know I really liked it.
It almost made my top 5, but number 3 for me.
Please let it be a movie I've seen.
Amy? Did you see it? No, the Amy Winehouse documentary.
This is top 5 movies JT should watch before doing the podcast.
Don't worry, you would have seen my number 1 too.
Here's the thing. Again, I'll let you talk about Amy, but like it's a documentary. When did it come out? Did it come out like right at the beginning of summer? Like May? I think it was May.
I think so, because I saw it at Cannes, which was May, and then it came out not too long after that.
Were you Amy Winehouse fan?
Not really. I mean, her music I always thought was cool. I'd sing along to Rehab. I had one of her albums, but I didn't. It just seemed so insane, all the tabloid stuff. Yeah. I didn't follow that because it just made me feel sick.
Yeah, maybe for me it's like I never really followed her music. I know of her. Yeah. I heard about her tragic death. So like for me, for a documentary, I really need to have some sort of like interest.
I think you'd still
and
like
I guarantee you I would like it.
Because the director, Asif Kapadia, so he directed Senna, a documentary about the race car driver. I have no interest in race car driving, but I loved Senna. Yeah. He made me interested. And again, if you're not an Amy Winehouse fan, you see Amy, and it just tells a great story. I mean, it's a tragic story. It's really sad. It's haunting. The way it's put together is brilliant. So it's a lot of home video footage, personal footage. But the thing that's interesting is that all her family and friends and people who speak, you never see their faces. They're not sitting talking to camera. It's like their voices. Images. Yeah, their voices over images. That makes it really sad. You know, you hear her dad say, "Oh, yeah, I didn't think she needed to go to rehab." And that over footage of her messed up, you just think, oh, what if? What if they'd forced her? Maybe nothing would have changed. But she was so talented. You get to see her recording her album, coming up with everything. And she's like a savant. I mean, she just fantastic with jazz music, this powerful voice, plus with her tragic life or sad life, it added so much to the music. So it really haunted me, but at the same time, it's one of those movies that I saw twice, even though it's a tough experience at times. Plus, the paparazzi stuff is just insane. I mean, they hunted her down.
I heard
they should have been helping her out. Yeah.
I hear it's even worse in England.
Terrible in England. Yeah. They would be chasing her down the street and she would have blood all over her clothes, obviously out of her mind, on drugs, needed help, but that's the shot that they wanted. They wanted that shot of her just destroyed, and it's awful.
That's terrible.
But great movie. Yeah. Definitely watch it. One of my favorites from Cannes.
The last documentary I watched, like based on a person who passed away, was Life Itself. On Roger Ebert. But to me, I grew up with Roger Ebert. I watched him every Saturday, Sunday morning, because they would change
I didn't, because he wasn't in America.
Oh, that's right.
But what he stands for, movies, obviously, is important to me.
Yeah, but that's the thing about these documentaries. Like, and Ron, Smartest People in the Room, is one of my favorite. I didn't really know that much about it. I was never really interested. That director did such a good job of making like entertaining and kind of just creative ways of showing you what happened. Yeah. Using like audio tapes of like conversations between these guys during like footage of like droughts and brush fires. Like it was so well done. So I mean, I love documentaries.
You should watch it then.
I should check it out.
I think you would really like it. Listen to Me, Marlon is another great documentary. I know I'm wearing a Marlon Brando t-shirt as we speak. So obviously I have an interest in him. But the way it's put together, it's all his voice. It's tapes from his life when he recorded himself speaking. And that's really interesting. So yeah, it's how they put it together, even if you don't like the subject matter. This
is why Alicia Malone's on the show, because she's not bringing you Ant-Man or Age of Ultron. She's bringing you the thought-provoking films that are playing in between these blockbusters. I really do want to check it out, and I probably will become a fan of her music after I watch it.
Yeah, because it's one of those things like Love and Mercy that once you learn more about the artist, then it makes it more interesting to listen to the music.
Totally agree. After Walk the Line, I went on a huge Johnny Cash binge.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I went and started buying everything.
Johnny Cash.
Yeah, me too. So that's what I love about, but again, that's not a documentary, but still, I love anything.
It almost was like, with Joaquin's
just like you said, you're listening straight out of Compton all the time now because
exactly. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is going to be Mission Impossible 5.
Yes.
You like this movie? Okay, good. Here's the thing. I love Part 4. And if you put a gun in my head, I might still say 4 is the better film. But 5 does... It's this weird thing where it took what worked, I think, in the first 4 movies and kind of put a little bit of everything in there and kind of created, like, the ultimate version. It's like when you're building something, it's like, all right, this one's a little lopsided. This one's just about right. But, maybe if we just take everything we've learned and put it together, we'll have a solid foundation. And Tom Cruise, just that guy, I liked Edge of Tomorrow, but I didn't love Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people love that movie. I dug it.
I really liked it.
You really liked it? Yeah, I remember you and Scott Mans both really liked it.
Yeah.
But like Mission Impossible is like it's just the one movie he can make, and he seems to just know what to do.
Yeah.
He produces it also, which he does most of his films, but I just feel like it's such a winning formula. And if you look at the storylines for all these movies, they're kind of not that different. There's something he's running out, he's chasing something. He has to, usually he's working outside the IMF. I mean, I never watched the show, so I wonder if it was like the show always like that?
I never saw the show either. But, yeah, I agree that it's kind of the same format. At the same time, it's really compelling. And I'm purposely not saying much about it because it's also on my list.
Okay, great. So we'll skip that because I want to hear what you say when we hit to your list. I'm curious now where you have it. But, yeah, overall, I think it's really good. I think the set pieces are really good. I think Rebecca Ferguson is awesome in it. I think she is probably the best thing in the movie outside of Tom Cruise doing the usual Tom Cruise stuff. I will say, this is a little bit of a spoiler, the opening scene of the movie is the plane scene.
Yeah.
And I remember Christian Harloff, saying how he liked that because it let you know there was a lot more to come. But for me, I was kind of like, oh, that's cool, but there's nothing after that really topped it for me.
The water scene? Come on.
I had little issues with the water scene because it felt really CG to me at times.
Really?
I never really felt like he was underwater, even though they did it underwater.
The whole time.
Were you really?
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't get worried in those movies because Tom Cruise ain't dying. But it's more about how's he gonna. Yeah. It's more about how's he gonna pull it off.
Yeah,
you just want to see how's he gonna pull it off.
Last minute.
And again, I think the motorcycle chase scene is really good in the movie. And the funny thing was, when I left the theater, I said, "Wow, that was awesome." But I think that's definitely the longest of the Mission Impossible movies.
For sure, yeah.
And then I went back and looked, and Part 4 was actually 2 minutes longer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It felt
Right?
new one felt longer, but not in a bad way.
But not in a bad, but it did feel longer. And I said, "Oh wow, they really went a longer." And then I went back and I saw Part 4 was actually 2 minutes longer.
Yeah.
I said, "Okay, well maybe there is a little something. Maybe there's a little issue with the pacing there." But when it comes to summer popcorn action, Mission Impossible was fantastic. I loved it, and it's exactly what I want out of it. I would honestly be happy with a Mission Impossible movie every summer.
Yeah.
I know what I'm getting every time I go in, and he knows how to do it, apparently. Tom Cruise knows how to pull it off. All right, so
I completely agree. That's why it's my number 2.
Okay, so there we go.
Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Because although I do love the indies, and I'm always representing them, and most of them on my list are indies, when I think summer movies, you want big blockbusters, but I want them done in a smart way, or interesting way, one that appeals to me. And I thought Mission Impossible Rogue Nation was a really smart film, intelligent, complex, great story. I mean, putting all those puzzle pieces together, all the twists and turns, plus the cast, Tom Cruise. The fact that he does his own stunts, to me, even though, it's Tom Cruise, he's not going to die anytime soon. But that adds stakes to me because it's done for real and not all CGI. There's CGI moments, but it's not like a huge battle that's all CGI characters. Yeah. And he's a real guy, so it could possibly go wrong.
Did you like Part 4 better, or is this your favorite of the series?
I think it might be my favorite of the series, but just slightly, because Part 4 is brilliant. And I loved Part 4. Maybe it's just because it's newer, so it's like a shiny new toy.
Yeah.
See how we feel in another year, maybe, when all the dust settles. Rebecca Ferguson, I thought she was great. So good. Loved her character because she was tough but feminine at the same time.
And she kept, like most great spy movies, you never quite know what side she's on.
Yeah.
She keeps you're like, is she good, is she bad? I don't know.
You're like, I don't know. Or is she just trying to protect herself? Like, who knows? I love Alec Baldwin and his voice.
Yeah, he was a good addition. I love how they bring these players, like Mission Impossible 3, they brought in Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah. Part 4 was really when they brought in a team that was really brought something to the table.
Yeah, and I think they heightened Simon Pegg. He, and in this one particularly, his humor is great. Like the way his character fits in with the team, where he's kind of the nerdy tech guy and is kind of scared the whole time. It started in 4, and I think it was heightened in 5.
See, he was introduced in 3.
Yeah.
And at that point, he was just a lab guy.
Yeah, it was just I didn't really get
4, I felt it was like when they brought him into the field, he's like, I'm an agent now. And I love how there's that one joke where he keeps wanting to put a mask on. And they continue that part 5 where he's like, I just want to wear a mask.
Yeah, wear a mask.
Like,
and then
the
opera and all that stuff. He just wants to go to the opera.
For me, it's like when I watch these Mission Impossible movies, the story is usually secondary to the set pieces.
Right.
Like, story is always kind of, like I said,
and I was glad, actually, that they put the plane at the start because
really?
we
So
saw it everywhere first.
I agree.
If they hadn't have shown it in every trailer, in every TV spot, then maybe I would have been like, that's amazing, keep that till later, but we've seen that before, so it was like, okay, I'm glad that it got it out of the way. I knew that the trailers hadn't spoiled anything because there must be more to come.
I'm going to disagree because they showed the Dubai scene like crazy when 4 was coming out.
Yeah.
And that didn't take away anything from me when the Dubai scene came out.
I saw it in IMAX and it was terrifying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, it didn't take anything away from me.
Right.
And I'm trying to think, like...
But the water scene, I thought, was another huge set piece.
Yeah, I guess that worked more for you than it did for me.
Especially because I know that he held his breath for 6 minutes or whatever it was, some crazy time.
I think the motorcycle... And then that's followed directly by a motorcycle chase, which I thought was great.
Like, oh my God.
I'm one of the few people that actually enjoy Mission Impossible 2. And I love the motorcycle scenes in that movie. So, like, I felt like it was a little bit of a callback to Mission Impossible 2.
But just better.
I don't know, because here's the thing. The Mission Impossible 5, it's just a chase.
Yeah.
Part 2, he's got guns. Like, there's one scene where he, like, pulls a U-turn. Yeah. He, like, shoots a car and explodes.
It's very John Woo.
It's very John Woo, which I love John Woo.
You know, it wasn't as realistic as...
No.
I wasn't a huge fan of Jack Reacher, so I wasn't sure about the director coming on board for this, but I thought it was fantastic. Also, probably because Tom Cruise is very involved, and he's a great producer.
Yes, that I totally agree with. And I agree, I was worried about Jack Reacher too, because I was not a huge Jack Reacher fan.
No, I didn't really like it. I haven't read those books.
I'm actually a little more excited for the sequel only because Edward Zwick's directing it.
Right, yes.
Who did Last Samurai, Glory, some really good movies. So I'm actually more hopeful for that movie. Hopefully the scale goes up a little bit, but I don't know, maybe they're trying to do it on a budget. But yeah, good number 2. I mean, this is my number 3, so we're pretty close on that one.
Close.
I'm glad we're somewhat close.
What's your number 2?
My number 2 is going to be Inside Out.
Ah, yeah.
I loved this movie.
Yeah.
I usually, I love Pixar. Mm-hmm. I think this to me is back to their glory days. They've hit a rough patch with Brave, Cars 2, even Monsters University.
More Disney films.
Yeah.
Well, Cars 2 was definitely Pixar, but Brave was more Disney for me.
Exactly. And then Monsters University, not bad,
yeah,
but not as good as the first one. This is what they did back in the day, where they took something very creative and they made it not good just for kids, but for adults. And it's like Inception for kids in a certain level. And I think I can't wrap my head around it, and I can't explain it well, but the way they worked out how there's these islands of personality, there's a scene where the main character by Amy Poehler is with sadness, and there's literally like these little guys, they look like Tic Tacs.
Yeah.
And they're just like, phone number. It's like memories you don't need
that's
anymore.
Why I don't remember things.
Yeah.
It's really clever, and I think it definitely checks out with psychology. Like,
yes.
It uses it, and it's a great way to explain it to kids and adults, and I think it opens a doorway for kids to be able to explain their emotions to parents, and parents be able to explain what's happening with their kids.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? It's very clever, and I like that it's about all these feelings, and it actually makes you feel all those feelings while you're watching the film.
And the genius thing of, I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but the way sadness and joy become like one entity, and the way they explain it, and
how you need
sadness.
Yes,
I don't even know how to describe it.
You can't just have all joy.
Yeah. I was impressed. I'm just sitting there, I'm like, whoever wrote this thing should get a fucking bonus.
Me too. I actually saw it at Cannes Film Festival.
Wow,
it almost made my list too, because it was such a great experience. I never cry in movies, and I kind of shed a tear at one moment. I know you know the moment, because it's really sad.
It came out of nowhere, Alicia.
You're like, what?
I'm watching the movie, and I'm like,
doing?
Yeah, I'm like, this is a really good movie. And that's what I was thinking, and the whole time watching, I was like, oh, I really enjoy this. And then that happened, and I said, you son of a bitch.
And I like the way you can watch it as a simple journey story of joy and sadness have to find their way home, or you can delve really deep into it and look at everything that they throw in there. It's very clever.
Yeah, I'm glad to see Pixar return to form. I think they have The Good Dinosaur. Is that coming out this fall?
That comes out November 25.
I'm hoping, it
looks cute.
It looks cute. I'm just hoping they are able to continue like the emotional part.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to relate to a dinosaur in the same way that you relate to
That's
feelings.
true, yeah. And I think the casting was perfect. Lewis Black is Anger. He's like, congratulations, San Francisco, you ruined pizza.
And then when they flash into other people's heads.
Yes, the credits.
Great.
And then Bill Hader, there's an amazing scene where they're watching how dreams are like a movie studio.
Yeah.
And how they're being produced, and there's like a filter.
So clever. And it's like, what's happening with my movie? It's a nightmare.
It's one of those movies where I'm like, I could never wrote that. Like, I don't know who knows how many scripts they went through, but...
Super smart.
Super smart, touching, funny. It hits every base, in my opinion.
All the things.
Everything. So I had to go Inside Out. Pixar's back better than ever. All right, so let's go to our number one.
I think you can guess, right?
I'm taking a guess that we have I said this before I even invited you. I said, she's probably got the same number one as me.
Yeah.
It's no secret. My number one of the summer
It's gotta be Mad Max Fury Road. Yes.
Fury!
I love this movie, and it was one that I was kind of worried about because it had so many problems leading up to it. It took years to get made.
I know.
Dr. George Miller, he's in his 70s now, and it's this huge action film. The thing that I like about it is that it seems deceptively simple on the surface, and then you can really scratch deeper, much kind of like Inside Out in that way. Some people look at Mad Max Fury Road and they say it's just one long car chase. No, it has so much more to it. And one of my friends came home from seeing it and said, but they didn't explain anything. I was like, that's great, because you can actually use your brain and you can decipher what happens in the world just from little things. I thought Tom Hardy was great as Max, and it was really Furiosa's movie.
Yes, I agree.
Charlize Theron. I like that they brought on a feminist writer to oversee everything and make sure that it was balanced. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
A famous feminist writer. She came on to an author to oversee the screenplay and just be like, add this, take away that, in a subtle way.
Yeah, it's smart.
That it's not super, called out, but it's there, and it just makes it a rewarding experience, particularly as a girl, to watch this movie.
Yeah.
Plus, it's little things like there's a whole. I think you got the DVD, right?
I watched all the special features. Yep.
There's something in there about the cinematography and the way they shot everything center frame, the crosshairs.
I don't remember.
There's some videos on YouTube too which show you the reason why, even though there's those crazy big action sequences, that the reason why you can follow it so well, you don't feel like it's chaotic.
It's not Transformers.
Even though every shot is only about 1 to 2 seconds long during the fast-paced moments, is because a lot of the action is shot center of the frame. So they center out exactly what you need to be looking at, center frame. So your eyes don't have to move around the screen. Okay. Everything like that is thought of by George Miller. Or you'll see one object going from left to right, the next object goes from right to the center, then it goes from center back to right. So it tells you where your eyes to go, and you don't even notice it. But it makes it easier to watch, easier to digest. He's a brilliant director. I'm so glad that it's as good as it was, and it did well.
I agree. I loved Road Warrior growing up. It's one of my favorite action films of all time. So, I would always, whenever, as a kid, I used to, make, as a film geek, too, I would just make lists, what are my top 10 favorite dramas? What are my top 10 favorite action comedies? And I'd update it once in a while.
You're still doing it.
I'm still doing it,
I love that.
And Road Warrior has always been in my top 10 action films of all time. But Mad Max might take it out, because it is everything Road Warrior is to turned up to 11, is what I like to say.
Okay.
This guy literally got a new chest of toys just to play with. I mean, he literally got the people on cars with the sticks, like the pulse. He took that from a Circus Olay.
Yeah, and then the Doof Warrior, he's the guitarist.
Yeah.
And I want to be that guy. That's a cool job.
Who doesn't? And I disagree when people say there's not enough plot or story. I think people say that because there's not a lot of dialogue and it's not spoon-fed to you.
Yeah.
The story...
He was inspired by Kurosawa, actually.
Oh, he was? Dude,
yeah.
And now I'm a huge Kurosawa.
And silent movies. So he actually wanted to make it a completely silent film. And then he added in a dialogue, because he thinks,
which is perfect,
the action should speak for itself. You don't have to explain and spoon-feed everything.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And that's why when I watched it, I was like, it's so refreshing to be thrown into a world and not just I love Inception. but half of Inception is them telling you what Inception is.
Yeah.
Matt, I love that he just threw you into this world, and if you're smart enough, you can just pick it up on your own.
Yeah.
Like, okay, 1 + 1 = 2. You didn't have to show it to me.
If you don't want to, you can just enjoy a car chase.
Yeah, and it is by far. I saw it 2 weeks before the summer started, and I tweeted it out. I said, quote me now, this will be the best film of the summer, hands down. Nothing, and this was before Avengers came out, so everyone was like, come on, man. Avengers is coming out. Like, all these other movies are coming out. Like, how can you say this is going to be the best movie of the summer? Because a movie like this does not come along but once in maybe a decade.
It's rare.
When it comes to action films. And it was not just me. I feel like Mark and Christian liked it, maybe not as much as you and me.
I know, and I actually,
lost his mind.
When I first saw it, straight away I was like, yeah, it's good. And then it was another one that really grew on me, and then I saw it again, and I was like, dude, this is brilliant.
Oh, wow.
But I still saw it so early, so I was talking about it before it started coming out, before, the Schmoes had seen it. And so I was like, yeah, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. And I feel like they were like, it's pretty good.
I was the opposite.
Stuckman,
I was the opposite. I saw it, and I was like...
Yeah, because I saw it before you.
That's
and
right.
then I was like, no, you're going to love it. And then you did. You loved it so much.
Instead of like, you worry because you don't want to hype a movie up too much. I was like, in my eyes, I was like, there's nothing I can say that could overhype this. Yeah. I was like, I could tell you it's the greatest movie ever, and I think it will live up to that. Yeah. Because I literally left the theater just thinking... What? I was a little gobsmacked. I was like,
I'm so glad people
I didn't know they could make movies like this anymore.
Because I thought, people are going to... Yeah, it's going to be overhyped. Average moviegoers are not going to enjoy it, but people did. People paid money. They loved it.
And it's not... Listen, I have talked to people. I think Mark Riley didn't love it. Even Copster really liked it, but I don't think he loved it. But people... and I'm not saying I don't respect those guys, because I respect the hell out of them. But people that I listen to films, as when it comes to reviewers and critics, and just film enthusiasts, were universal in just saying, "Oh my God, this is something that has not come along in a long time.
I agree.
It should be celebrated." And I'm just like, "Yes, I feel the same exact way."
I agree, and it's like, to me, I watched it and I was like, "This is what an action film should be. This is what a blockbuster should be. You can do really exciting stories on a big budget and make it smart and interesting." And for film lovers, it's not just I hate blockbusters. No. I just get annoyed when I see someone has such a big budget and a big opportunity, and to me they take the easy way out just for the mainstream audience. If you don't challenge people.
True.
This movie challenged people, and the action looked like it hurt. It was done practically as much as possible.
It blew my mind.
Practical effects. And it's interesting that now he was able to do practical effects that he couldn't do back then because of CGI, because now you can wipe out the harnesses, you can do crazier stuff, but for real. And I hope that film keeps going back to that, because it just adds a level of realism and stakes that I feel has been missing lately. And that's my rant.
No, I totally get it. And as a film geek, someone who studied film and knows what it takes to make a movie, I think people like that might take more out of this movie than your casual moviegoer. When I was in film school, I was a full-on film geek at the time, because all my friends were my classmates, and we went and saw Children of Men. And Children of Men has at least 3 tracking shots, which are just mind-boggling. There's the car scene, the scene where the car gets pushed down the hill,
explosion,
the very ending. And I feel like a lot of people, I think years ago when I saw that, I wouldn't have thought that it was a one take. Like, my head wasn't in that technical realm. I would just said, "Oh, that was cool." But watching it as somebody who once learned film, I was just like, "What is happening?" And I was like, I felt like I was the only one in the theater that was like understanding what was happening. I was like, "Do you know how hard it is to pull off these shots?"
I know.
And when I'm watching, something like Mad Max Fury Road comes along, and from a technical aspect, editing, the way the shot composition,
even the color
grading, I'm like, there's nothing I would change about that movie.
Exactly. And I love that. I love when people study film, not to be pretentious or anything, but just to see exactly what goes on. And once you learn about things like cinematography, you have such a greater appreciation for film.
I think I might have said this on Ken's show back in Knapsack Files. I can't remember, but I try to make the analogy to like a wine taster. Somebody who just likes wine go buy a $5 bottle of wine in a box and drink it and be like, this is good. Somebody who studies wine knows where it's made, know what temperature it was made at.
The tannins.
Yeah, they'll taste that same $5 bottle of wine and be like, oh, that's really cheap and not very good. There's not much to it. But they'll take a drink out of a $300 glass of wine that was aged properly, made in this part of the country at this temperature. They drink it and be like, this is fantastic. And that person who likes the $5 box of wine will drink that $300 and be like, this is not,
and it doesn't mean one person's right, one person's wrong. No, it just means
they come at it at a different perspective.
Yeah,
one person cares and knows more about what it takes to make that, where the other person just wants to drink.
I agree, and I want to share that love and that interest, and so I'm trying to figure out for my YouTube, I want to do some kind of film school series.
Oh, okay.
That I know there's some brilliant channels that do it already, but in my own style and fun way to explain like a technical term and then use examples from movies.
Oh, with like sample. Yeah, I think that's smart.
And not just classics, but recent films.
Yeah, same thing happened.
One of my many ideas that I have that I don't have time to do. But, you know, one day.
When I said when I saw Goodfellas, they showed us in school the tracking
shot.
Yeah, and that's when they actually give you a camera, say go try to recreate that shot, and you're like, holy crap, this is hard.
And then when you see other films do it, you're like, oh, that's like the Copa shot, and you have a greater appreciation. That's why you should all watch classics. The end.
Yes, thank you. Let's go down our top 5 real quick. I'll just do my top 5. Number 5, Ant-Man. Number 4, Straight Outta Compton. Number 3, Mission Impossible 5. Number 2, Inside Out. Bing Bong. You're the best. And number 1, Mad Max, The Masterpiece.
Mine's number 5, Cop Car. Number 4, The End of the Tour. Number 3, Amy. Number 2, Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation. And number 1, Mad Max, Fury Road. Special mentions to Inside Out, Straight Outta Compton, Love and Mercy. That didn't quite get there. And Me, Elle, and the Dying Girl.
Oh, I really enjoyed Me,
They would have been in my top 10 for sure.
I would have put Me, Earl, and Dying Girl top 10 for sure also.
Yep.
It's kind of hard, some of their films. I'd really have to look at the rest of the summer. But Avengers, I would barely make my top 10. Jurassic World would barely make my top 10.
Yeah.
All right, so let me give you a couple questions, just some over the summer kind of questions.
Okay.
First question is worst film of the summer.
Oh.
Worst summer blockbuster that you saw was just like, this, I need to leave the theater immediately.
Fantastic Four.
Okay. I'm right there with you. I hate
I really wanted to like it because I like Josh Trank.
Yeah.
All the interviews leading up to it, talking about Cronenberg. I was like, come on. And then no.
It's funny when there's a movie that bad, it's just universally the worst film of the
like,
summer.
How did that happen?
I'll tell you right now, before that, it was Terminator Genesis.
Oh, yeah, which I actually...
You actually kind of liked, that's right.
Which is weird.
That
so
was
strange for me
again,
to like it.
I love the Terminator franchise, so it was personal.
You have more of a personal thing.
So, but I agree, Fantastic Four was the worst.
Yeah.
All the good stuff that was in the trailer wasn't even in the movie.
I know. There was like 12 shots they went through on a website. 12 shots from the trailer that never made it, or they were different in the movie. It's weird. It's like, what happened?
The one shot from the trailer is where the thing drops from a plane.
That's right.
It's one shot, and he lands in a military base, and that wasn't in the movie.
And all the things like with fixing the car, Johnny Storm fixing the car, and the thing with the, all that stuff that I think could have been great build-up.
It was Fantastic Four so bad. All right. Best performance of the summer.
I
think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, I was going to say Jason Segel in the End of the Tour because it was unexpected.
Okay.
And I hope that more people talk about it.
Yeah, again, that's one I wish I saw just so he probably would make my list.
Yeah.
I went with Jason Mitchell as Eazy-E.
He was good.
Mainly because I'd never heard of him before, and he kind of came in and just... he's the best actor in that movie.
And he looks a lot like him too, but it wasn't just that. He really inhabited the character, made you feel for him.
And he held his own against Paul Giamatti, who he had some great scenes with.
Exactly.
Giamatti was great in it. I think the guy who played Dre did fine. I think Ice Cube's son looked like him and did
it was great.
A decent job.
I thought he did really well.
But Jason Mitchell, Eazy-E, was by far, I think, he had just overall did the best.
Acting.
Yeah, he was the best
actor.
I would also give runner-up to Charlize Theron from Mad Max.
Yeah.
I think she's one of the best female characters in action.
The thing is, people say Furious is strong, but she's actually a pretty broken character. She's gone through a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And she's very vulnerable at the same time. So Charlize brought so many layers to her.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think she's up there with Ripley as like one of the best action heroines of all time, in my opinion. All right, next question. Most deserving of a sequel. Out of all the movies you saw this summer, which one would you like to see a sequel to?
That's a tough one. All the movies I saw, well, a sequel, I would
summer's
probably
all
say...
about sequels.
I know. I'd probably say Inside Out.
Oh, really?
Actually,
you think they could do a sequel?
Maybe it would just be more of the same, but...
Teenage years?
But I want to see... Yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, even more emotions then.
What would you call it?
Or just more, like, Inside Out. I'd be like...
Inside Out?
The terrible years of being a teenager. I don't know. That's a tough question.
It's a tough one, huh?
Yeah. What would you say? Because I'm like...
I hate... People are going to hate me, but I'm just going to say Mad Max.
Yeah, that's because I thought about that. I mean, there's definitely much more you could do with that world, obviously.
Because here's the thing, I heard George Miller say
already,
he wrote so much backstory for each character.
Yeah.
That there's like a whole story about
so you could almost do spin-offs.
That's true. It could be a Furiosa film.
Prequels.
But I think it's the most deserving.
Like, I want to know, like, Imperator Joe. Like, what's his story?
Well, the thing I love about Mad Max's stories are never really connected.
Yeah.
Like, Mad Max 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Well, that's the thing. He says that with Mad Max Fury Road, that it's just another tale that they told about Mad Max, not necessarily a prequel, sequel.
Okay.
So, yes. Let's go with Mad Max, because there's so much you can do.
This is the Mad Max podcast brought to you by JTE. Most underrated film of the summer.
Underrated movie, any of them on my list.
Yeah, I was about to say. Your list is all kind of
end of the tour. I think also Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl was underrated because it did make a huge splash at Sundance. Mm-hmm. It won the 2 major prizes. And it was a movie that everyone was talking about at Sundance. And I remember coming back from Sundance and being like, you'll have to see it, it's so great. That and Dope, I feel like, are underrated really good, because not that many people saw it. Oh, yeah, they're bringing it back.
Because Strata Compton did so well.
Yeah.
They're talking about re-releasing it soon.
I think Dope should have been talked about more than it was. It's a fun movie.
I liked it.
Yeah, good soundtrack, good time, and Me, Elle, and the Dying Girl. More people should have seen that movie.
What would
you say?
I'm going to say The Gift.
The Gift. That's a good one too.
It was one of the films this summer that I just was really enjoyed the hell out of. It did decent. Like, it was a $5 million budget.
Yep.
It made its money back. I think it made it's at least over $12 million right now. But not that many people I know saw it. Like, I've been telling my friends, go check it out. Because,
like we're saying on the Schmoes, when you see the trailer, you think, oh, I know exactly what this movie's going to be like. The trailer tells me everything.
I agree.
I don't need to see it.
Yes.
When you see the movie,
it's not what you expect.
It's not what you expect.
Which I love.
Twists and turns. So I don't think the trailer... It's funny because trailers usually give away too much.
Yeah.
But it also didn't do itself any favors by not enticing you in enough.
Yeah, it's like what they did with I feel Glorious Bastards. Like, the trailer was very misleading to what the actual movie was.
Yeah.
They were just trying to trick people to get in there.
I know.
But I think The Gift is a very good film that I think deserves more people to see, and it was a nice breath of fresh air. Now put a sentence together. I thought that was just a brain fart. I couldn't even think of that sentence.
And Joel Edgerton should direct more.
Yes, I loved it. I thought he did a good job. I love seeing actors try to direct.
Yeah.
2 more questions. Most overrated film of the summer 2015?
Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Okay, I'm going Jurassic World.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Because the reason why I'm saying that is because it's the 3rd highest grossing movie of all time.
That's true. Oh my god. And I enjoy Jurassic World, but I don't think it should be deserving of that title.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, it
didn't need the love story. She should have taken off her shoes. But
there's so many
at the same time, it's fun.
There's storylines that
I enjoyed it. I like Chris Pratt.
The things with the kids and the parents with the divorce.
Oh, yeah.
They set it up and they never go anywhere with it.
Didn't need to do anything.
They didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's one of those movies, I enjoyed the hell out of it when I saw it. I think nostalgia, they rely a little too much on nostalgia to kind of get you through it.
I think a lot of people liked Avengers: Age of Ultron without questioning it because it's Avengers. Without saying, but is this a good Avengers film? Is this the best Avengers film we could have had?
I feel like they went in with their mind already set.
Yeah, they're like, if it's more Avengers, great.
And if Cody and Copster are listening, sorry, Jurassic
World. They loved it?
They love Jurassic World,
yeah.
It's good, guys.
I was watching it With you and Cobster,
Yeah,
right?
we saw
and
it,
Cobster's face during it. He was just having the best time.
Like a kid in a candy store.
Nostalgia.
All right, so this is the last question. What is your most anticipated summer film of 2016? I'm going to give you a list.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say,
I'm giving you a list.
What's happening?
Captain America Civil War, X-Men Apocalypse, Ghostbusters, Star Trek Beyond, World of Warcraft, the BFG, Spielberg film, Big F and Giant, The Conjuring 2, or Independence Day Resurgence.
Ghostbusters.
Wow, Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Really? Interesting. That's the one I'm a little more worried about.
Paul Feig.
Okay.
I think he's fantastic.
Did you love Spy?
I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a good time watching it. I think he works with Melissa McCarthy really well.
Yes, he does.
He brings out the best in her. Mm-hmm. So I like her in his movies. I love the cast. I think it's a great mixture of ladies. I like the idea that they're doing a female Ghostbusters. At the same time, I did like a Skype interview with the cast, and they're very hesitant to make it a female Ghostbusters. They just want to make it a Ghostbusters with women. That it shouldn't be a weird thing. They go Ghostbusters with men, why not Ghostbusters with women? But it's not going to be like, oh, they've got periods and they're talking about, It's going to be funny and interesting. I think it'll be different from the first. To make a reboot, they had to do something different. They couldn't just repeat what they've done before because they can't live up to the original Ghostbusters.
They got to do something. They got to make it their own.
And I think if they made an old guy Ghostbusters again, you would compare it naturally.
Compare it. Totally agree.
And so I think it's smart to do something different. Will it be good? I have no idea, but I am most looking forward to seeing how that works out.
Very interesting.
What's yours?
This is a tough one for me. I'm going to go X-Men Apocalypse. And the reason why, because, number one, my favorite film of last summer was Days of Future Past.
It's really good.
That's my favorite. And this apparently is going to be Bryan Singer's last film. And it's the end of the First Class trilogy. I just feel like I feel like Bryan Singer, he's sharing photos on Instagram. The sets are huge. He's got Egyptian sets, factories. It looks like it's a biblical scale X-Men movie.
Just putting it all on the table.
I think Bryan Singer is this is my last one. I'm going big. Yeah, I'm throwing it all in. It might be Jackman's basically second to last. It hasn't confirmed that he's going to be in it yet, but I think he's going to appear in it. How do you not? He has to, right? Bryan Singer's last X-Men movie. And I love the character of Apocalypse. I am a little worried by the way he looks. I don't think it's as close to the comics as I would like. But
and I get confused. Maybe it kind of looks like the other guy from the other one.
Yeah, and I'm, at this point, Singer has my trust. My favorite X-Men films are the ones he's directed. Yeah. X-Men 2 was my favorite up until Days of Future Past.
I thought, Matthew Vaughn did really well as well with First Class.
I totally agree.
But Days of Future Past was really clever and really stylish, well directed. Yeah.
So I gotta go X-Men Apocalypse. I am excited for Captain America Civil War. That'd probably be my second guess. And for those of you listening, Batman v Superman is in March, so it does not count as a summer blockbuster.
Right.
All right, so that's it. We're gonna do some quick thinks, and then we're gonna get you out of here.
No problem.
Let's see. So I asked people to tweet me their favorite summer films of all time. We'll just get some quick thoughts on them.
Okay.
Let's see. Matt Allen at MattJA says Star Wars is one of the original summer blockbusters. That's a fact.
Yeah. That's a fact. It's going to be the biggest film of the year, probably.
Star Wars is what started, that along with Jaws is what started summer movies.
Oh, yeah. It changed cinema forever. It also started with merchandise.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I do appreciate what Star Wars brought to the table. I just didn't grow up with it, so I don't have that same love for it.
So I understand.
But yeah, it's definitely a good pick for summer.
Yeah, can't go wrong with that one. Here's an interesting one. Brian Hurst at Hurst Gulies.
Yeah.
Not bad. The day I saw the first Raimi Spider-Man, I had to call off work after so I could discuss it with my friends.
It was one of the first comic book movies.
Yes.
And I really liked the first Spider-Man.
Love it.
And not so much the second one.
Wait, we're not talking about Amazing Spider-Man. We're talking about...
No.
You didn't like the second one with Alfred Molina?
Not as much as the first. For me, I liked first, then second, then third.
Wow. The second one is a lot... Third one's not very good. No. The second one, a lot of people consider to be one of the best comic movies of all time.
I think it's because I know, yeah, I definitely know that. But I think because I didn't know too much about the Spider-Man story.
Yeah, okay.
So that was actually my first, like, my true origin story for Spider-Man.
Interesting. Wow.
So I really enjoyed that. I like when he gets bitten and he's working on his powers, and so I actually enjoyed the first one the best.
I can understand. I have a friend of mine from college who's the same thing. He loves the first one more.
Yeah.
He just loves it. And I love the first one and the second one.
Doc Ock and all that stuff that came later, it seemed a little too over the top for me. And I know people like it. And I probably, if I went back and rewatched them, maybe I'd like the second one better, but just I remember the experience of seeing the first.
I'm just going to give a quick shout out. Garen Howells at Garnzilla. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 had such a profound effect on me 11 summers ago. Perfect summer blockbuster.
Yeah.
So both of them made it onto the tweets here.
That's great.
Yeah. Brian Hurst. That's what I just said. No.
Yeah.
He did too. Come on, Brian, you're cheating.
Brian, he's just excited.
All right. He said Independence Day. Let's just throw it out there real
Independence Day. Oh, yeah.
That was a huge one.
Huge summer. And fun as well.
Yeah.
Will Smith. That was one of his first big...
Yes, that was his big breakout, really.
Big breakout movie. And it was great.
For the sequel? Excited for the sequel?
I'm unsure about it.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'll reserve my judgment. I don't want to judge it too harshly because I did enjoy the first.
True, I agree. We'll see. The second one, I think, has a chance of being good because the technology is going to be much better. Because the first one does feel a little dated now when you watch it.
Oh, definitely.
The one and only at the One Jacks, Gladiator. People forget. That was a summer movie.
That was a summer movie.
And people forget that. And that's why I remember with the year it won the Oscar, I said to myself, summer movies don't win Oscars.
I feel like they did back in the day.
Did they?
Titanic.
Oh, Titanic, that's right.
You know, I feel like that was summer, right? Oh, it definitely was for Australia.
Okay. Because I think Titanic
I don't know if it was day and date, like if it came out in Australia at the same time as it came out in America, but I watched that during our summer, which is your winter. Okay. Yeah, Gladiator, that's a great example of a blockbuster that has a lot to it.
Yeah, and Spencer at Dirty Spoons also said Independence Day, so that way we gave somebody else a Twitter shout out.
Okay.
Ravid Prasad, Ravi Shadow, at Ravi Shadow, said Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
I love Jurassic Park.
Me too.
I mean, and this is why, like, I like Jurassic. We were talking about Jurassic World. Jurassic World doesn't come close to Jurassic Park for me.
I think Jurassic World was good because of the Easter eggs for Jurassic Park.
Exactly.
The throwbacks to Jurassic Park. Nothing can beat Jurassic Park. That water moment with the T-Rex is so scary.
First time that T-Rex came out, it's one of those movie-going experiences like I'll never forget because before that we've never seen a dinosaur look realistic in a movie before.
And it still looks good if you watch it now.
It looks better than Jurassic World. That was one of my arguments. When I saw Jurassic World, I said they did too much CGI. I was like, I still think the dinosaurs look better in Jurassic Park. Yeah. How are we going backwards, people? At Caleb Anjaniki. Come on, people. I'm terrible at pronouncing names.
You're terrible or terrible?
I'm terrible. Terrible saying terrible. Back to the Future.
Back to the Future.
Great 80s. And that's not a movie like right away that comes to my mind with summer blockbuster.
Action-adventure.
But it's a summer film.
Well, also probably because we saw it later, not in cinemas.
True. Yeah. And yeah, that's one of those movies I feel like it was on cable all the time growing up, and I would watch it every time.
Oh, and I still do. Because it's got a great story.
Let's do one more, and then we'll call it a day. Let's go with Brendan Walsh. Here's a one I haven't actually revisited in a long time. Is Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah.
When was the last time you watched that one?
With Bob Hoskins. I watched it so many times when I was young.
Same here, yeah.
And Jessica Rabbit, super sexy. And that was the first time I'd seen that integration between cartoons and real life, live action.
That's right,
Robert Zemeckis. Great movie, but I haven't seen it in a long time. I probably still know all the words when I watch it though. Probably all come back to me.
Yeah, as you watch it, just like reflex.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in so long, but I feel like you. I feel like I could almost remember everything.
Yeah.
Because it was one of those movies I just watched.
I'm just drawn that way.
Yeah,
so
I just rewatched it so many times as a kid. And I remember when I used to go to theaters, and specifically when Honey, I Shrunk the Kids came out, they played a Roger Rabbit cartoon short before the movie.
Right.
Kind of like how Pixar does now with these little shorts.
Yep.
There was like another film that even came out after Honey, I Shrunk the Kids where they had another one, And I was just, I remember, I can't believe I remember those. But yeah, so I loved Roger Rabbit growing up. And the weird thing is, Roger Rabbit isn't like the greatest character.
No.
It's just the more like the Bob Hoskins.
Yeah, and the way he fit into the world.
Yeah,
too.
And again, like we say, you see all these old cartoons pop up.
Yeah, and the idea of a mystery with cartoon characters.
It's Chinatown with cartoon characters. So yeah, that's it, guys. It's been great. Thank you so much, Alicia, for doing this.
No problem.
I figured I may as well put my top 5 out there. Everyone listening to this knows my number 1 was Mad Max.
Yeah, they probably know mine too, because I was talking about it a lot.
Were you? Okay, good. And I'm glad I had somebody on here who shares my love for Mad Max, because it's going to be my top 10 of the year, no brainer.
Oh yeah, it's the one to beat at the moment for top 10.
Yeah. I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Like, I've loved Ex Machina.
I mean, for top number 1.
For number 1, yeah.
Yeah.
I love Ex Machina.
Me too.
I loved What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes.
I'm trying to think what else I really liked this year.
Werewolves, not sweat wolves.
Yes. Oh, so good. So, but yeah, Mad Max is like, listen, I understand it's an action movie. Mm-hmm. Some people are like, how can you make it number 1 of the year if, you know, something might touching or more personal might come out? Then listen, that could happen.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to discount it just because it happens to be one of the greatest action movies in the past decade.
No, because it has more to it.
Exactly.
I normally wouldn't choose an action film over a bunch of others, but it has more to it.
Thank you. I got the backup of Red Fury.
Alicia approved.
Alicia approved. All right. Tell them where they can find you, Alicia.
You can find me on Twitter at Alicia Malone, on the Schmoes, on Movie Fights often, also on my own YouTube, Movies on My Jam.
Movies on My Jam.
Yes, yes.
I feel like that was an MTV show at one point.
Movies on My Jam.
You can catch me on Box Office Breakdown, where we break down the box office numbers. Schmoes Know 6 to 8 every Thursday.
Oh,
on
also
the,
Profiles. Sorry.
Oh, no, don't forget Profiles. Yeah,
shout out.
That's
Profiles
right.
Malone Mats.
We're part of the Popcorn Talk Network, son.
Yeah.
Yeah, Profiles is great. You guys get the biggest stars. It's amazing.
I know.
It's just jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
Anyone who's a film geek out there, if you're not listening to Profiles, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And check out the t-shirts. Those t-shirts are awesome, by the way.
Yeah, hashtag Film Geek.
Yeah, I love that.
You can get it on tpublic.com/user/profiles.
I've been using hashtag Film Geek on my tweets since I started Twitter.
Oh, so
it's
we
great.
stole
No,
it
it's
now.
okay. Anyone who's film geek could use it. It's not mine.
Yeah, good.
But I love those shirts. I need to get one.
That's something that just started. The profilers who watch our show just started hashtagging Film Geek on everything.
I might have started it when
Maybe
I started working, because I used to
It
engineer
took off,
profiles.
and now every tweet, every Facebook comment we get, hashtag Film Geek, hashtag Profiler for life.
I don't want to take credit for that because it probably wasn't me. But anyway,
Could have been.
hashtag Film Geek, hashtag JTE Movie Thinks. Thank you guys for listening. If you're on iTunes, do me a favor. Throw a comment. Let me know what you think of the show. Follow me on Twitter at SchmoesJTE. Tweet at me whenever. I always put out a tweet saying we're about to record, so you might be able to hear your Twitter shout out.
Cool.
You know, everyone wants to talk about their favorite movies.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to do that for you guys. I'm going to try to read your tweets and we can discuss those movies.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and that's it, guys. And one last thing. Happy birthday, Alicia Malone.
Thank
it's
you.
Your birthday.
Yeah.
We're all going to sing happy birthday now. No, because I'm
do
horrible.
it.
I will mess up the words. I'll mispronounce something in a special way.
You actually would. No one else for you.
I can't imagine. But it's been great, you know, getting to work with you for the last year. And it's almost 2 years now. How long has it been?
Oh my gosh, I know. Well, it's just over a year because I had my birthday last year on the Schmoes too.
That's great. It's been awesome.
It's gone fast.
You and Scott are a great team, and it's a lot of fun times up ahead and a lot of movies to talk about.
Yeah, it's nice working with you too. Thanks for having me back.
All right, guys. Thanks so much, and keep watching those movies.
Bye.